Hi folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does help when you do that. So today folks, I think this is going to be quite a long video, but I don't know how long, because in all honesty, I have no idea what the end of this video is going to look like as I sit here shooting this introduction. Because what we're going to be doing today is taking a look at this guitar here. Now, regulars to this channel will recognise this guitar very easily. This is my 1996 Japanese-made Fender Tele 52 reissue. And this has just been a real workhorse guitar for me over the years. It's had various different pickups in it, different wiring configurations, but every recording I've done in the last 7 years at least, every demo video I've done with a Tele has featured this guitar. It's just a very good workhorse Tele. But there's one small problem with it that's kind of risen its head in the last couple of months, and that is this guitar here, the Ron Kirn Barnbuster. Because I was on the lookout for a while for a real kind of top shelf T-style guitar, and I certainly found it in this. And in all honesty, with its 200-year-old pine body and expert attention to detail by Ron when he was building it, this guitar runs rings around the white 52. It's just a much better sounding and feeling and setup guitar than I think the 52 could ever be. So I knew pretty much as soon as I played that guitar, before I even bought it, I was never going to play this again in its current form. It's just a much better instrument. So that got me thinking, what do I do with this guitar? Now, the first very obvious thing would be to sell it, but I paid probably about £500–600 for this back about 7–8 years ago, and I've certainly put some miles on it since then. So all the lacquer around the bridge is starting to fade. It had a big chip on it going through to the wood that was ripping my arm up, so I kind of filled it with lacquer, but the wrong coloured lacquer, so it looks like it's been plugged with chewing gum. The lacquer on the edges of the fretboard in the first position are all starting to go. So in its current condition, I could probably only expect to get a couple of £100 for this guitar, if that, and it's worth more to me than it is to sell it for that amount. So I want to change it to be something that will sit alongside the Ron Kirn for a different era of Tele sound. And in the past I've gone down the broadcaster route, which I tend to find a bit dark and overly compressed for my personal tastes. I've done the mid-50s and early 60s Tele thing, which I find a bit kind of spiky in the upper mid-range. I much prefer the kind of early 50s Blackguard sound, which is what the Ron Kirn is. So this is never going to compete with that, I've accepted that. But there's one era of Tele that I've never looked into whatsoever. And basically in the early 1970s, so a little bit later than the era I would typically go for, Fender hired Seth Lover, of course best known for designing the PAF pickup for Gibson, to design them a humbucker that would kind of compete with the Gibson equivalent guitars of the day, but still maintaining a Fender quality. So it was designed to be a bit more beefed up over the standard single coil, but still have that kind of pristine top end and clarity and articulation that single coil Fenders were best known for. And that became the Wide Range Humbucker. But for various reasons, I've just never really looked into wide range pickups. Firstly, they're a much wider footprint than your standard kind of PAF Gibson sized humbucker. So guitars, unless they're made for wide ranges, have to be fairly modified to actually accommodate them. And also there's a lot of mystique spoken about on online forums about the magnets that Seth Lover used back in the 1970s. They were QNIF magnets, which I think is copper, nickel and iron, if I'm not mistaken. And for whatever reason, you just can't get those magnets anymore. Fender have reissued the QNIF wide range humbuckers recently. I don't really know anything about them, to be honest. And various manufacturers have their own take on the wide range thing. So it's always intrigued me, but I've just never kind of looked down that route or down that rabbit hole. But the other week I went on the Facebook page of Monty's guitars. Now I'm a huge fan of Monty's, some of the finest PAF pickups I've ever played. This currently has the Monty's 53 bridge pickup in it, which sounds phenomenal. So I'm a big fan of Matt and everything he does. And he used to be based in London, but he's now moved to Cheltenham, which is pretty close to where I live in Bristol. So I went onto their Facebook page and I saw that they are in the process of bringing out their own version of the wide range humbucker. So that got the cogs whirring, and I emailed the Monty's team and said, look, I've got this old Tele. Would you be interested in modifying this guitar for me to accommodate your new wide range humbuckers, because I would really like to go down that route, but I can't do it on my own. I don't want to take a router to this guitar and try and make a custom pickguard and all that sort of stuff. I do not have the skills for that, and it would go badly wrong. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to drive this guitar up to Cheltenham to meet with the Monty's team and discuss what we can do with this guitar. Because I've been on Photoshop and I've kind of mocked up the sort of thing I'm thinking to keep it looking classic, but making it individual as well. Because if I was going to kind of try and make it look like a Fender sort of Tele with the 2 wide range humbuckers in the stock, I might as well just go and buy one of those guitars. So I want this guitar to have some kind of Blackguard type trademarks, but also accommodate those new pickups. And it's kind of a bit of a blank slate. I've come up with that sort of vague interpretation, but I want to go and chat it through with the Monty's team and see what they can bring to the table in terms of redesigning this guitar. So let's get this in the boot of the car, drive it to Cheltenham, and go and meet with the team at Monty's. So here we are in Cheltenham. Mr. Matt Gleeson of Monty's. I'm sure you all know Matt. So everybody knows Matt.
No. Anyway, yeah.
Yes. So this is the Tele,
Yeah.
which is a good guitar, but not a great guitar.
Yeah.
And having got a great T-Star guitar, it's gathering dust somewhat.
Right.
So I've been thinking of what I could do different. And I happen to know you've got some wide range humbuckers coming out
We do.
imminently.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking that we could put a couple in here. But of course it will need some modification.
Just a little bit.
A fair bit of modification to actually make it all fit.
Yeah.
Now, I've been on Photoshop, and I'm
Okay.
not very good at Photoshop.
That's alright.
So, this is what I've come up with as a concept. Feel free to disagree
Okay.
and tell me that I'm useless. However, that's the sort of thing I've come up with. So, I think the biggest thing
That's actually really cool.
will be a custom pickguard.
Yeah.
Because on all of the, well, pretty much all of the wide range Teles I've seen, you have the 4 controls like a Les Paul.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I quite like keeping the standard
Okay.
3-way Tele, partly because it's a 52 reissue and let's keep a few features, but also there's a bloody great route there. So we'd have to have the world's biggest pickguard to cover it up.
Yeah.
So the other thing is a lot of the wide rangers have the toggle, like a Les Paul up top. So I've kind of gone with the thin line pickguard that doesn't do that.
Yeah.
The hardest bit to get right is this.
Yeah.
Because you could take it all the way out there and it looks a bit plasticky, so I've kind of tapered it in and round, so it's kind of what it needs to be, but any suggestions very gratefully received on that front.
Yeah, no.
It's what I could do with Photoshop. In terms of the bridge,
Yeah.
2 options that I thought of. Firstly, some sort of hardtail, like a strap hardtail type thing, bolt it on. Most of the wide range Teles I've seen have hardtail, like 6 saddle bridges.
Yeah.
But the other option could be
Yeah.
a chop and a file.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah?
I'd recommend that. I mean, they do. You can buy them as well, but it might be. I love using stuff that's already on the guitar and reusing it, so you can, chop that down, polish it up, and that'd be splendid.
And the screws are in the right place.
Yes.
The other thing I've seen, most of the hardtails I can find have 3 screws. These have 4. So drilling new holes isn't the end of the world, but if they overlap, it's
it's a nightmare. And also if they're almost in the same place, and then it just screws everything up.
Exactly.
But that'll look killer.
So kind of behind that back screw hole, if we just chop it off.
Yeah.
And we've got a fully functional bridge with some sort of 52 styling.
Yeah.
52 style styling, but then we can also mod it, route it out, and have some nice wide ranges in there.
That'd be killer.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. In terms of electronics, having done all my obsessive reading, I know you like to do as well.
Yeah.
the original 70s sort of thin line, is it Tele Deluxe? Was that the solid body, was that the thin line?
I get confused. There's a deluxe and a custom. I can't remember which one's which, but I know what you're talking about.
all those guitars. From what I've read, they had 1 meg pots in.
Yes.
So they were a bit like the Jazzmaster, like real glassy top ends. Now I do have a couple of linear, log 1 meg pots lying around.
Uh-huh.
So I tend to, when I'm doing a vintage style guitar, start with the original spec.
Yeah.
Live with it for a bit and then tweak from there.
That's the best way to go.
So I was going to say, let's start with 1 megs.
Mm-hmm.
Standard 3-way Tele switching. I think it's a 2-2 cap that goes in it.
Yeah, not a problem.
And if I may, I'd like to try one of your cap caps because they look fantastic.
I know,
so
I
I
love
thought
them.
we could pop one of those in. That's what I'm thinking on it. But it's kind of a blank canvas as well for you to kind of add your genius to it as well, because that's me on Photoshop.
Yeah.
So any thoughts of other things we could try or differences or whatever? Gratefully received.
Yeah. I mean, the wide ranges actually they coil split really well.
Okay.
So if you would be tempted that way, we can see. But the only problem is we wouldn't be able to get 1 meg 1 pots. But maybe it's something down the line.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I think it's all like this bit. I really like your idea, and definitely with this bridge.
Sure.
This. I can say what's going to be a pain in the arse is that bit there, because when you're cutting it around here, this is going to start going.
Yeah.
But it's if we can get around that.
Yeah.
Setup wise and playability wise, how is it?
Bit of a handful, but better than it was. So
Right.
I've shimmed the neck. It's certainly made it better.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needs to go further, less, or as good as it will ever get in terms of neck angle. Frets, as far as I know, these are the original frets from '96. Cowboy chords, a bit pitted, especially as I use the thick strings. I don't know if that's kind of level and fret dress, or it might be nearing.
Do you know what I would? The frets are going to be super low.
Yeah.
I mean, it will still be playable. But if it was mine, I'd refret it. I think. But then you've got what kind of frets you want, what kind of fret wire material and stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, with the thick strings, they just eat frets, especially down here.
Yeah.
They just pit, and I've had a few that I've managed to kind of get dressed and flatten them out, and it's kind of been fine.
Yeah.
But if it's the sort of thing that's going to cause problems in the very near future, then we can look at it for sure.
Especially with the thick strings, it would be an idea to have a look at. Have you seen Jess? There's a company called Jesscar. It's the fret wire that I use, and they do an Evo Gold, which it's almost as hard as stainless steel.
Yeah.
Got no nickel in it or anything, but doesn't change the sound.
Okay.
With stainless steel, I find adds a little bit of top to it. It's not bad for some things, but for me, if you're changing it on a guitar, I prefer to keep it kind of standard, and it looks cool actually. I've got any.
It's that sort of gold. Oh, the goldy colour.
Yeah.
Ace.
And it's when they're all polished up, it's like butter, and it stays like that for years.
Sweet.
And I had it on my Spark, my main Tele, which is like my go-to guitar, the sparkly one.
The silver spark.
Yeah. I've had that on. I had it on there for like 6 years or something, and I was gigging 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And there's still no marks on it.
Sure. Because it is one thing I struggle with a lot. It's just going straight down through this, like you're going hot knife through butter,
exactly.
And you end up with these. You try and do some bends, and it's like
yeah.
because it's catching.
What you're doing is you're making sort of mini relief in the neck, so it's not straight.
Yes.
But we can always we could try them with that, and if you don't like them, switch them out.
Yeah,
whatever.
Definitely. Because I mean, with the wide ranges with 1 megs in, it's going to be bright, which is good. That's what we want. Extra brightness, arguably less so.
Yeah.
So by all means, we can give it a go with the gold fret wire. The other thing I tend to struggle with is getting a poppy cut nut, just because monster strings and all nuts are cut for a set of 10s.
Yeah.
So you stick a 64 low E in there, and it's got that much gap between.
Yeah. Well, how high is it at the minute?
It's pretty low. is pretty low.
And they can all come down. But we can,
Yeah.
that's not a problem at all.
And that's another thing that I definitely struggle with a lot on my guitars is tuning here.
Yeah.
High nuts that I can't really cut very well. I have tried. I bought some Amazon files. They were dreadful.
Yeah.
And, you know, you fret an A chord and everything's
Yeah.
so far out, it's annoying.
Yeah.
So
We can just leave it with me. I'll sort
Yeah.
all that out.
Okay.
And get your design into there with some wide ranges.
Mhm.
And then see how it goes.
So in terms of the wide ranges,
Mm-hmm.
two questions.
Mhm.
Firstly, is there just one that you do, or is there a range of wide ranges?
There's one at the minute.
Yep.
There are other designs, but it's just I've made the mistake before of launching too many things at one
Sure.
time, and we're only a small team,
Yes.
so end up falling over. So the minute it's
Yeah.
it's like this 72 kind of original, as close to original
Yeah.
as possible. They're actually, I've been lucky enough to play quite a few, and there's a friend of mine, a guy called Paul Sayer, who's a bonkers good guitar player. Was in a band called the Temperance Movement,
Yeah.
and he's played with loads of people. I think he's on the road with James Blunt at the minute.
Nice.
Anyway, he also is a collector of incredibly nice guitars, and is very fussy's the wrong word because it makes him out to be. But I like it when people are fussy because they know what they want.
Yeah.
And he had this. He came to me with a thin line. I don't remember what year it is, but it looked like it had been stuck on a ceiling in a 70s pub. It was like nicotine.
Orange.
Yeah, exactly. but it sounded amazing.
Yeah.
And that was the first one that I was actually like, geez, these wide ranges really are amazing and can be. And then he's kind enough to let me take stats and stuff, and then compared that to a few others and to see what the differences were, and came up with the recipe, kind of reverse engineered.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's certain things you can't get, like you can't get the original magnet material. So I had to tweak that and design there's like plates in them that you have to get designed and then made and that.
Sure.
And yeah.
So 72 spec is what you've got, but there are others in the works.
Yeah. They're sort of getting progressively more aggressive.
Excellent. Well, I think I've come in at the right time because
Yeah.
I'm kind of. I don't.
For you, I think it's.
I don't exist outside the 1950s in terms of spec usually. So 70s is, this is
pushing
uncharted
it.
territory.
Yeah. It's brave.
The other question I think we loosely touched on there, magnets
Yeah.
in wide ranges. Cuneife was the originals.
Yeah.
That was
Connell Ford. Yeah.
whatever.
They're all funny names.
Copper, nickel, and iron.
Yeah, do you know what it's called?
I think CU is copper.
Yeah, but we use it's FeCrCo or something. I've got it written down somewhere.
Okay.
But it's machinable Alnico.
Right.
Fundamentally,
Sure.
that's what it is.
And that's why Alnico wasn't used in the wide ranges because
Exactly.
it needed to get very small.
Yeah, if you
slugs.
try Alnico, if you try to do anything with it, especially with the tech they had back then, it would just shatter.
Yeah. Sure.
So sonically they're pretty much from a magnet point of view they're pretty much the same. So
Sure.
you have to balance out other bits to then because all I'm searching for whenever I do anything like this is a sonic recreation rather than I'm not just worried about it looking exactly the same.
Absolutely.
That's where it comes from. So
Yes.
that's more important.
So yeah, I think if that looks something like a workable idea,
100%.
let's go with that. Chop the bridge off, keep the controls on their plots,
Yeah.
cap,
Route, massive hole in it.
take about £4 off the weight of the guitar,
Yeah.
and we might end up with something approaching that. The Pickguard material, that whatever you call that, sort of
Perloid, yeah.
Perloid. I've always liked the look of that. I don't know if that's easy to obtain or
everything on there is completely doable.
Sweet. I'm glad I wasn't too far off the mark.
No, it's good. So you've got proper tan lines.
Grim, isn't it?
Yeah. Look at that, all that muck, you dirty sod.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, you can see that's not actually dirt or anything. That is
it's
actually the paint.
Faded like.
I love that. It's just it looks so gross.
Like, do I just have like horrendous sweat or something? It's just
Joe Perkins, acid sweat boy. There's like lots of little squeezes along the foot.
Just like that.
Just like that. Cool, so this is just getting the bits of lacquer that are kind of coming off.
Yeah.
Coming up, sorry.
Is that a Fretosaurus?
Yeah, yeah. Everything in this place has got weird names.
There's another thing I know very little about is like the radius of fretboards.
Yeah.
And I think the one, is it like vintage radius for like Teles especially?
Yeah.
It's quite tricky to bend with up top, so modern ones are more...
Flatter.
Or they're flatter, less curved modern ones, right.
So you've got...
That's it.
Basically, the more curved it is, so okay, it's about 7... I'm going to get this wrong now, I always do. Yeah. It's like 7¼ inch radius.
Yeah.
Which is quite... I mean, this is what this is. Should be, yeah. So it's relatively steep, you can see.
Yeah, yeah.
What it means is when you're bending a note up, when you're bending an E, for example, if you're going up a hill and over the hill. That's the flatter you have it, the less that comes into play. That's why, is it Richie Kotzen? There's various signature guitars that are completely flat, like a classical board.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what you lose then is sort of the comfortable element. So this is really comfortable for chords, not so good for lead playing.
Yeah.
And then they flattened it out a little bit to 9.5.
So is that a 7.5?
This is 7.25.
Yeah. So proper vintage.
Yeah, this is vintage. Yeah.
So presumably that's a little bit more than 7.5 inches.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. So a flatter board would have a bigger.
Yeah. Exactly.
With the fret wire, when you bend it, it'll be bigger.
Because
I'm learning slowly.
Yeah, I still every day's a school day, Joe. So what I'm going to do now is I've set this stop so it's the same depth or a little bit deeper than the tang on the fret.
Yep.
So just going to clear these out. So what you want to do, because there's lacquer on the edge of the board, you pull it in that way, although making no noise. That's good. And then in that you can hear that there.
Yeah.
And it should, there's like literally nothing to take out. They've just got a little bit of glue on either end, and that's it.
Yeah.
Inside, from the middle out, it says. You hear that change? It gets more solid, more kind of. Say percussive, but you're hitting something. So I'm just going to take the tangs down a little bit and then we'll flip over to that one. You can kind of hear, again, you can hear with the file when it's got a little bit to go. So we're just putting a tiny bit of a bevel, chamfer, whatever you call it, on the fret. I don't want it to be too far in because then you're losing playing area.
Yeah.
And we'll round those off anyway later. This I find really helps me see where the wear is and takes away. So it's just a red Sharpie. Other people somebody suggested a blue one to me, but I tried that and for some reason I can't see it as well. Right, so what I'm going to do now, back the truss rod off. I forgot you freaking those heavy crazy strings.
Yeah.
Back the truss rod off. So now I'm going to find the biting point, which is like there, and then put it on a quarter turn.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the ideal place. So it means that you can go back from that and you can put some more on, and we'll see how
we're doing.
There, it's still got a little bit of relief. I don't want to put it on too much more, especially with the strings that you play, you crazy man. Yeah, we're going to need some movement. Tap it a little bit, see if we can get it a bit more movement. Is it coming out that side yet?
It's like the only fools and horses chandelier, isn't it? You know it's going to happen, just when.
For the fall away part, you want this. We should put a bit more of a compound radius in. I'll do like an arrowhead. Aim for like an arrowhead here, so that will start to blend it in with the steeper radius there, and then flatten it out. Cool. So this will just. Now more technical than that. So this is a diamond reprofiling file. Just in the final thing, which is, well, before polishing, which is just getting the edges of the frets. Yeah. So if you feel them now, they're all like pretty sharp. Yes. That will cut you if you were. So we're just gonna reprofile. Yeah. Again, this is the first. I think this was the first file I was given when I got my apprenticeship.
Yeah. Still going strong.
Still going. There's still some sanding and stuff to do. If you run your finger down that way, and go the other way, you can feel the difference.
Massive difference there, yeah.
We've done the edges, and then the next is just to get a little curve on the top.
Yep.
So I don't know whether, I was told this is called a carpenter's curve, whether it is or not, I don't know. Don't really care, but that's what I call it. So what I'm doing with the files, I'm pushing the handle down that way.
Yeah.
So it goes up like that, and that
cool.
puts a tiny, you see that tiny little curve on the top?
Yeah.
And you do, again, just using pretty much the weight of the file. So I've just got some 400 grit on this. I'm going to do a couple of other things afterwards with some finer, but if this was a rosewood board, typically I would just have this like on my hand and do it like that. But because it's maple, don't want to scratch any of the lacquer.
Right.
You put it on this file. If you think about it, all they were trying to do is keep the sound that they had already and just make this buck the hum.
Yeah.
So it's just how can keep it as close to that. And they managed it. Got some wire wool. I'm just buffing this up. So this is final bit of polishing. So we've gone through the grades of sandpaper, getting finer and finer up to 2,500 wet and dry.
Yep.
Then did, I can never remember how many O's it is, but it's either triple O or quadruple O, wire wool, and then just this T-cut. Just standard, nothing special. So there's that, so refret done.
Perfect.
So.
Incredible.
So having a little bit of a break from fixing to do some packing. Some full Monty humbuckers that are going up.
And the legendary Monty's packaging. This is how it's done.
Yep. And this, annoyingly, the spoon's just falling in, so it's really freaking hot. The easiest way is get the back of it like that.
Lob it on.
Lob it on. It always goes more messy when there's someone filming.
It's so cool though.
Yeah. And then there you go. But I just love the colour. It's like that proper.
So good.
Brand new colour scheme. There you go. Raw nickel kind of ages really nicely.
Raw nickel will go with that.
Yeah.
Because that's when we're going to chop that.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty warm.
Yeah.
So having shiny pickups and that might not.
Yeah.
So raw nickel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Sounds good. Been doing that for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, there's nothing better than a quick car fire to bring a community together.
Hey, success.
Top down bridge. Yeah, I think that's the right way to go.
I think I'm leaning towards
That
a squiggle. Yeah.
squiggle is going to make it a lot easier to make.
Good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Look at that. This might get a bit noisy.
That's fun.
It was the first very rough cut out. Obviously, I tidy all this shit up.
Yeah.
It's going to look pretty sick, I reckon.
Amazing. That's what we're saying bye-bye to.
Yeah, hopefully it should be. All of that will be, that'll be covered.
Here we go.
Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of rough it out. And then
Sure.
Ready, steady, go. Right. So that's all the major
surgery
done. Let's wire in the pots, get that all done.
Yeah.
I'll switch these covers over. So that was the first iteration 3D printed bobbin.
Amazing.
Yeah, soldering these bad boys on.
I think I'm always too scared of the heat. Like I'm going to damage something.
No.
Watching you do it, it's like it's on there for a good 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely fine.
It's absolutely fine. It takes a lot to damage them. As I said, it's taken it must be 3 years now, or more. Like I don't know, to get to the point where I'm sat here with you putting them in.
Yeah.
There's a different voice to them, and it's fun figuring it out. It sounds great through like voxy stuff. So the neck one through here. The bridge one through there. And that. Come on, you can fit in, slot in.
There you go.
There you go, man.
Perfect.
Now let's just get the other bit.
So cool.
It's wicked, isn't it?
I love this bit.
Yeah.
That's the bit that really gets me, and it's the 52 guard with the deluxe.
I think it was definitely the right way to go. So that's on that side. I'll key all these to put a little bit on the top, just makes it easier in the future. I'm going to connect this to this, which, yes, and they are connected by the plate, but that's, if one of them gets loose, then it can cause problems. Can we do this? Can I make this work? I think I can.
The high point of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's alive, and we wired it in the right way around first off.
That's more than I've ever managed ever.
Cool.
I'll try a slow-mo of a screw, see how that goes.
Do you want a slow screw, do you, Joe? You ready?
Yep.
You got it popping out too. The worst screw technique ever. The guys will get back in the morning and they're like, you still here? It's just like, yeah, we're just trying screw puns.
Yeah. We're on page 6. Any contributions?
There you go, you see it like drop down.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that. That's looking good. 64, you maniac. Right. Cool, so I'll cut this one right down. You want basically to almost, when you press it on the 4th fret, or just about see a gap underneath the bottom of the string. When you're filing it, you want to always make sure you're angling the file down towards the headstock. So you want the last point of contact to be this side of the nut. Because otherwise the string will flutter across it and make it dead.
It looks so nice.
I'm going to sort all this shit out in the morning, but you have a quick tinkle on it.
Different it feels as well, like pick up to side.
Yeah.
And the look of it aside, just
it's just getting everything balanced. That's the biggest. It's the biggest challenge of the whole thing, and then you can kind of tweak from there. I mean, obviously we did tweaks as well at the same time, so it's quite big tweaks. Actually, I mean that looks it looks sick. It just looks so cool.
Works, man. So good. I can't wait to
properly get to know it.
And,
yeah, man.
Like, I mean, they're sounding great already, but through my amp that I know, and
I
know how things sound through that amp, and just
man.
It almost has a sort of super stratty type
nature
to it. Like a sort of,
it's got that top. You know, it's those transient thing.
Yeah, that's almost like a sort of Van Halen-y type sort of growl. Not like I'm Tony Van Halen, but so good.
Yeah, I also like the fact that that's still there.
Yeah,
and you've got this nod to it here.
Yeah,
but I think but
it's literally a halfway between the two, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's exactly.
So it's a 50 lux.
50 lux. The 50 lux Monty caster. Let's go with that.
That's awesome.
Sweet. So, yesterday was something of a long day. I left Bristol at 6:30 in the morning and didn't get home until gone 11 o'clock at night. Now, before we even get into the amazing guitar I've now got sat next to me here, I need to say such a huge thank you to Matt at Monty's. He was an absolute trooper yesterday. He started work on the guitar about 10 in the morning and he was still going at 9:30 at night. No breaks all day, just flat out commitment. It was mesmerising watching him work. His obsessive attention to detail, his extreme craftsmanship. It was just beyond belief, and his skills are certainly evident in how amazingly well this guitar turned out. Now, compared to my original sort of Photoshop mock-up that I gave him and said, how about something like this? It stayed pretty true to it, but the one thing that changed has become my favourite part of how the guitar now looks, which is this contour in the pickguard here. Because up to there, it kind of looks like a sort of 52 Tele with a wide range in the neck, but this is the point where it transitions into being its own thing. It goes from a 52 guard into the kind of Tele Deluxe custom guard, and it's very obviously a mashup of the two eras of Telecaster. You've got the Callaham bridge here, which we chopped in half, so sorry Callaham for butchering one of your very expensive cold rolled steel bridges. You've got the 52 spec kind of control cavity rather than the 4 controls like a Les Paul. But then you have the Perloid pickguard and the wide ranges. It's very obviously its own thing rather than trying to be one or the other, and that is exactly what I was after. It's kind of added to the story of this guitar rather than having rewritten its story, as it were. It's turned it into something completely individual and unique. Now, I cannot get over how much of a difference having a properly set up guitar makes, because of course Matt's adjusted the action perfectly. It's got a properly cut nut now, so it plays more in tune down here than it ever has. The refret has taken a kind of worn out old Japanese Fender neck and made it look like something that's come straight out of the custom shop. It plays like butter, even with my thick strings. I just cannot get over how much of a difference what Matt has done to this guitar has made in the best possible way. Now, I've just got this guitar out of the case. It was packed up last night at Matt's, went in the boot of my car, and I've just got it out now. So of course, I don't know these pickups yet. I don't know this guitar yet. I've never played wide ranges before, and this guitar looks, sounds, and feels very different from as I remember, again, in the best possible way. So what I'm going to do is probably early in the new year, do a very in-depth review of these Monty's wide range humbuckers, once I've got to know them and dialed them in and all of that, because the height of the pickups are currently set to Matt's starting point. He said, that's kind of where I would start, see how you get on. So I haven't adjusted anything yet, so I need to do that and really get to know this guitar before I kind of do a proper demo of these pickups. But today, what I'm going to do is just do a few minutes of playing into a clean, slightly crunchy amp, just to show you how this guitar now sounds. Now, Matt said that these pickups sound incredible into AC30 type amp, so I'm going to use my Dr. ZZ Rec today, go straight in the front end, set it a little bit crunchy, and just show you the tones this ridiculously good guitar is now capable of producing. So, without further ado, folks, and I'm not on my A game today, so apologies for the sloppy playing, here we go. So there we are, folks. My old Tele with the brand new Monty's wide range humbuckers in it. So please do comment underneath, let me know what you thought of this whole journey. Would you have done something similar? What do you think of these brand new wide range humbuckers from Monty's? I love chatting nerdy guitar stuff with you folks down in the comment section. But I'm just loving this so much. And sitting with Matt yesterday while he did all the work was just such an experience, seeing how you can take a kind of worn out old guitar and transform it into something new and very exciting. So thank you ever so much to all of you for sticking with me through this video. I know this is going to be quite a long one, but beyond all of that, thank you so much, Matt, for everything you did yesterday. This has just blown me away, and I cannot wait to get to know it much better in the coming months. So there we are, folks. Thank you ever so much. Please do carry on hitting subscribe. I know I always say it, but it makes a huge difference when you do that. And yeah, I will see you with this guitar very soon. Bye-bye.